Good day, everyone. I am Arido Danica A, and I'm about to report literature review. What is literature review? A literature review identifies, evaluates, and synthesizes the relevant literature within particular field of topic. Also, it is a critical analysis of published sources or literature on a particular topic. It is an assessment of literature and provides summary, classification, and evaluation. There are two types of literature review. First, we have research paper or dissertation, and last or second, that is a standalone research. If you're writing a literature review for your research paper or dissertation, first you must state your research questions and give a brief overview of what you will discuss. You can emphasize the timeliness of the topic. For example, you must discuss the recent studies and highlight a gap in the literature. For example, which is few researches have been taken into consideration. However, if you are writing a standalone paper, give same background on the topic and its important. Second, discuss the scope of literature you will review, for example, the time period of your sources. And last, state your objective. For example, you have a new insight will draw from the literature. This time, we are going to learn structure of literature review. The structure of literature review is similar to other academic texts with an introduction, body, and conclusion. Your introduction establishes purpose of the review, and in the body, it's directly discuss the literature. And in the conclusion, it summarizes the key findings of the review. So this time we are going to learn first the introduction. So just like in a good introduction, in this part of the literature review, you must emphasize the purpose of your work. So in an introduction, you should give an outline of why you are writing a review and why the topic is important. There are two considerations we must remember in writing the introduction of our literature review. The first one is the purpose and the second is the focus. So these two must or should clearly state the focus and the purpose of our introduction in any literature review that we are going to make. We have here an example of introduction of literature review. So in introduction of the literature review, you should first introduce the topic. Second, identify overall trend in what has been published on the topic. Also include a thesis statement stating the overall purpose and the factors discussed throughout the literature review. From the example of the introduction of the literature review, we have here ageism in the workplace. So we have, if you have noticed, we have there underlined words or sentences rather. So I will read first the underlined words there. So this literature review examines the social factors that lead to ageism in the workplace. Additionally, it illustrates how gender discrimination also intersects with ageism and creates more dimension to the discrimination experienced by aging women in the workplace. So that underlined words or sentences are the thesis statement, which the main topic that's discussed throughout our literature review. So usually our introductory paragraph were placed at the very end of the introduction. This time we are going to discuss the second part of this literature review in the body or in the body section. So the body of your literature review is the center of your work. This is where you present, analyze, evaluate, and synthesize existing research. So, in other words, this is where you're going to earn and the most marks. So each body paragraph should deal with different theme that is relevant to your topic. You will need to synthesize several of your review readings into each paragraph so that there is a clear connection between various sources. And also, you must really need to critically analyze each sources for how they contribute to the themes you are searching. Therefore, it is must very important or you are carefully think about how you are going to analyze and discuss your body in a clear way. Also in the body could include the paragraph of the following. First, historical background, methodologies, previous studies on the topic, mainstream versus alternative viewpoints, principal questions being cast, and general conclusions that are being drawn. Also, I have here example of the body. So I have here a tips you must follow while you are writing in the body. So first, you have going to group articles together according to, we have their factor or variable, conclusion of authors, and specific purposes or objectives. And second, compare and evaluate the articles in document. So in our body, the first sentence in this paragraph is an example of strong topic sentence. The one that has highlighted with red color is a strong topic sentence. So while age is often viewed as a purely biological process, age is usually constructed. So that is an example of our strong topic sentence. When forming the topic sentence, it helps to look the entire paragraph and ask, what is this paragraph about? Being able to answer this question in a single statement will help you formulate an effective topic sentence. So this time, please take note for these tips. We have here level 1 headings, which introduce a new thoughts, idea, and argument of a topic. So usually when we are making new headings or new thoughts or adding new thoughts, I highlighted there with red colored and underlined it so that we could clearly see what is level 1 headings. So level 1 headings are helpful because they allow readers to clearly indicate new section within the review. So each level 1 subheading should flash left of on the page and formatted in all capitals. So we must always remember that uh, when we making our literature review. This time, uh, in this part, a literature review can be a challenging to write because it should not be a source by source summary, but instead it should be synthesized or bring multiple sources together. Each paragraph within a literature at least have two different sources that speak to the same sociological factor. Your goal is to essentially highlight the relationship between sources. In other words, the goal is to discover if researchers agree or disagree on a given factor. So in this part of the body, we have here an italicized heading. So this time, this italicized heading named Discriminatory Hiring Practices is a level 2 heading, which is used when one of the main ideas of the paper can be broken down into further or into subsection. So level 2 heading should be typed in title case italicized and flush left on the page of the literature review. So this time, this is the tips for throughout the paper. So take note the following which is not included when writing a literature review. In description, especially a narrative description, is usually not included. The absence of judgment or argumentative statements. No, all references to situation or phenomenon being bad, good, positive, or negative should also be omitted when we write our literature review. We already know that literature review is an objective report of the material and do not argue in a point. This time we have noticed or take notice of the use of end-text citation throughout our literature review when citing several sources after one sentence or idea. So this is the last tips for the body. So when citing several sources, uh, the sentence or the idea must be separate from our author's names with the use of semicolons. And as a formatting, anytime a paraphrase or direct quotation, borrowed phrase, or quantitative data like financial figures, statistics, sale numbers, and etc. Also, reference and text citation must also include a page number or paragraph number. For example, we have here 2014 annual report, that is 2013 semicolon 312. So we are now in the last part of our literature review, which is conclusion. So in conclusion, you are going to give a summary of your topic. So this is where also the main arguments and disagreement in the literature and also any gaps or areas for further research for your overall perspective of the topics. Once you already completed and the body section of your literature, you must really have to wrap up your literature review by pulling all the pieces together to set the direction of the rest of your dissertation or thesis. So in this conclusion, this is where you present the key findings of your literature review. Also, you should emphasize in your research the questions and highlight the gaps that exist in your literature. Based on this, you must have a clear idea of what will you add with the literature of your research. Also by showing uh, the, the gaps that you just identified. And last but not the least, if it is your intention to develop theoretical framework for your dissertation or thesis, the conclusion section is a good place to present this. So this time we have here an example of a conclusion. Also, we have here a tips as you write your conclusion. First, you must develop a summary of points from article into closing paragraph. Also consider developing a single sentence at the end of the conclusion that the points reader to a new area for research or scholars to consider. Consider the discipline of which is a part and provide implication of the studies or document for profession or discipline at large. This time, let's do the recap or summary. So we are know that three parts of literature review. It has introduction, body, and conclusion. So first, in the introduction, it provides an overview of what you will discuss in your literature. And in the body, so in that section of your literature review, it can be organized by chronology, theme, or methodology. The right structure approach depends on what you're trying to achieve with your research. At last, in your conclusion, so in that section, you should draw together the key findings of your literature review and link them to your research questions. Thank you everyone for listening, and that's all my report and literature review. Good day, everyone. Today we are about to learn the laboratory report. So this is prepared by yours truly and Miss Bodegas Marisa. What is laboratory report? A complete, detailed, and record of an experiment. So the information provided in a lab report should be specific enough that the reader would be able to replicate the experiment. So we are also here tips in writing lab report. So it requires clarity and accuracy. Next, convey information in a concise and clear manner. Next, this should only about 2 to 3 pages. Next, just get to the major points. And lastly, do not use pronouns in your writings. For example, I, me, he, she, herself, you, it, dot, they, each, few, many, who, whoever, whose, someone, and everybody, and also many more. So that's, for example, instead of we took 3 milliliters of water and added it to a beaker, it must be 3 milliliters of water were added to a beaker. Proper grammar, spelling, and punctuation are important in this laboratory report. So we really avoid using slang words. For example, wow, crazy, dude, amped, cool, chill, awesome, and hype. So the laboratory reports are technical documents. So we must avoid using slang words. And we are now in structure or parts of laboratory report. So first we have title page, abstract, introduction, methods. In methods, we have two types of methods, the procedure or materials. Next, result and discussion, conclusion, references, appendices. But take note for appendices, it is not always needed. And this is what it looks like by identifying the structure or parts of laboratory report. Okay, so let's start with the first part, which is the title page. So, in title page, it is like cover page to your report includes the title of your experiment. For example, side effects of COVID vaccine on animals. So the first line is the title of the experiment followed by author's name and the date it started. The second part of laboratory report is abstract. In abstract, a brief informational synopsis of your experiment, typically under 200 words. Strive to use informational or declarative rather than descriptive prose. It is a self-contained way to briefly summarize the procedure, result, and conclusion of an experiment. And lastly, usually a single short paragraph and is written in present tense. So we have here an example of abstract. The leaves of plants often appear green in color. However, some plants have leaves that are only partially green or not green at all. Some plant species have green leaves that change color in the fall.
Good day once again. Allow me to continue the report of Miss Danica Rido. We are now on the third part of laboratory report, the introduction. Introduction explains its objectives and significance, and it provides the background necessary to understand it. The background should indicate theoretical predictions. And of course, you must state your hypothesis in introduction. Introduction contains context of study, pertinent background of information, and it must be written in past passive tense. And it should be 1 to 2 paragraph, of course, depending upon the experiment conducted. Obviously, introduction does not contain the results, the conclusions about the study, and the non-relevant information. And we have here an example paragraph for introduction. The fourth part of laboratory report is methods, procedure, and the materials. So methods or the procedure section should provide readers with enough information that they could replicate your experiment if they so desired. Writes in third person and use past tense. For example, the beaker was filled with 200 ml of distilled water and placed over an alcohol burner. As the beaker was heated, the temperature was taken every 2 minutes until the water began to boil. As you can notice, the underlined words is in past tense form. The was filled and was heated. Methods contains materials and equipments used along in any explanations of equipments if necessary. It contains the step-by-step process followed to conduct the experiment. It must be written in paragraph form, not in a bulleted list. Always written in third person. Do not use I. Be as detailed as possible. The purpose of this section is to allow another person to follow the instructions and replicate the experiment. We also have here a sample paragraph for procedure. And the next part is the result and discussion. Result and discussions conveys the relevant to the goals of the experiment. It also analyzes the results and discusses their implications. And it acknowledges possible sources of error and considers presenting information visually with graphs and tables, provide figures and captions. Results summarize the result in paragraph form. Create table or charts of the data collected if applicable. If using tables or charts, be sure to label them clearly. And do not interpret the data. This section should only contain the raw facts. So under discussion, interpretation of data is being collected. Did the experiment prove or disprove the hypothesis? If hypothesis was wrong, why and how was it wrong? Did any errors occur during the procedure? How might these errors be avoided in the future? Discussion of implication of the results. So tips on the results and discussion. That section must be written in third person and in past tense. So we have also here some examples of the results. This must be in a table form or in under figure forms. We are now in conclusion part. So conclusion, this section places specific results into the context of the experiment as a whole. So if your laboratory report is short, the discussion section may serve as a sufficient conclusion. So under conclusion, it evaluates the results in light of the objectives stated in the introduction. Tips in writing conclusion. Write in third person and avoid any opinions or personal emotions. So we have also here the sample paragraph for conclusion. And the last part is the references. References is your lab manual counts as a source. All sources used should be recorded on a separate page at the end of the report. So this page is titled either References or Literature Cited. So it should be organized alphabetically by author's last name. And now let us know the tips in writing a laboratory report. So first, do not use personal pronouns. Make sure to write it in third person. Use past tense, and it should be neatly written or typed. Spelling or grammatical errors must be observed. Calculations and report of measurements must be proper and accurate. And last but not the least, avoid plagiarism of other works.
Thank you for listening to our report.
Hope you learned something from us. Have a good day. Bye. Good day everyone. Today we're going to talk about minutes of the meeting, prepared by Miss Danica Rido and yours truly. First, what is meeting minutes? Meeting minutes are notes that are recorded during a meeting. They highlight the key issues that are discussed, motions proposed or voted on, and activities to be undertaken. The minutes of a meeting are usually taken by a designated member of the group or the secretariat. The task is to provide an accurate record of what transpired during the meeting. There are three types of minutes: the verbatim, minutes of resolution, and the minutes of narration. First, let us know about the verbatim minutes. Verbatim are used primarily in court reporting, where everything needs to be recorded word for word. And minutes of resolution, this is records only. The main resolutions are reached. They are common in statutory meetings. However, minutes of narration are concise summary of all the discussion that took place, reports received, decisions made, and action to be taken. Next, we proceed to the tips in writing a minutes. First we have be prepared. Make sure you know everyone. Ensure your choice of tools if it's working and keep a backup tool on hand in the event if it fails. Write down all motions, like who makes them and the result of the votes. Next, be prepared to justify opinions. Be attentive and be aware of others' body language. And as soon as possible, type the minutes while everything is still fresh in your mind. Second, ask for clarification, if necessary, if you miss to understand something. Third, keep the minutes simple, because a minutes is not a word-for-word transcription. Make it concise and accurate. Fourth, use bullet points for easy looking for important information. And the fifth one is refrain from unnecessary information, which might cause confusions. 6. Be objective. Never include personal opinion. Take a look at this template and what to include in minutes. We have here the objective, the called by, the date, time, and location, and the agenda. The objectives is stated and decided by the chairman, and usually the objective of the meeting is the purpose of the meeting, why is it being called. The chairman of the board is the one who is responsible to call for a meeting and decide for the schedule, like the date, the time, and the location for the meeting. The secretariat must take note of the attendees and the absentee during the meeting. Also, I have here a sample agenda. Agenda is another document that is needed in order to achieve a meeting. In agenda, it usually contains the format of meeting minutes. It also contains a heading which states the date, time, and location of the meeting to be held. Next is the meeting minutes template. As you can see, on the template on the agenda, the content is also seen in the template of meeting minutes. There are many types of templates of meeting minutes. This is just one example which includes the important parts. Hence, the template depends on the company or the institution. The business of the day is simply called the main topic that needs to be addressed during the meeting. And the other matters, or the AOB, is where to discuss the last item on the agenda, which to discuss other relevant and important business. And the last part of the meeting minutes template is the summary of key decisions and the next meeting date, time, and location. So the secretariat or the person assigned to take minutes during the meeting is responsible to make the summary key decision in every item that is being addressed during the meeting, as well as confirming the schedule as to date, time, and the location for the next meeting. So what are the elements to be included in the minutes? So first, the heading. It includes where and when the meeting was held. The next one is the present. Who was there during the meeting? Apologies of absence of the members in the meeting. And the minutes of the previous meeting. Note any corrections and state the minutes were accepted as a true record of the meeting. Also, it also includes the statement of what actually occurred at the meeting and the any other business or the AOB and the time the meeting adjourned and when the next meeting is to take place. We have here sample meeting minutes and its important parts. Of course, we have the heading. And for the members who are present and absent, and also includes those non-members who are present during the meeting. The first part is call to order. The chairman of the board will call the meeting to order. The second part is the roll call and determination of quorum. So the board secretary will call the members present and the members who are absent in the meeting. And the third part is reading and approval of the minutes of previous meeting. So the body read the minutes of the previous meeting. And the fourth part is the business of the day. It may include item 1 or item 2 and many more. It must be at the end will anonymously approved. And the fifth one is the other matters. And the last part is the adjournment. If there being no matters to be taken up, so the meeting will be adjourned and depends on what time it will be end. And the last part is the I hereby certify to the correctness of the above stated minutes. And it must be approved by the co-chairman of the board and the chairman, and of course signed by the board secretariat. We are now done with the templates of the minutes. Let us now learn the common verbs used to make notes. So we have here some example verbs like complain, propose, emphasis, summarize, indicate, discuss, explain, present, remind, agree, ask, suggest, tell, mention, present, express, report, request, point out, and recommend. And now, let us learn the types of language used to type a minutes. Using the common verbs used to make notes, we have here some examples. Number 1, CA presented the status report of INP to the board. Number 2, LD pointed out the importance of proper handling of VCN to increase its safety. Number 3, MT explained the reasons why there is a need in increase for VC budget. Number 4, JP recommended additional hiring of personnel to support the C19F project. Take note that all the notes must be written in past form and add ED on the verb. Next, let's proceed to sample sentences when key decision is being made. Example, a vote was taken, a proposal was approved by 7-1. It was decided that the budget for additional personnel was increased for support on CVX-19 project. The budget for calendar year 2022 was finalized. Please see attached documents. Maria Blancaflor was selected to lead the C19VF project. We have here also the common verbs to write in action point. Examples, prepare, update, order, send, find out, contact, organize, review, reserve, finalize, check, and arrange. Example sentences to write an action point. Contact the CF to confirm the allocated amount for C19F project. Update all personnel with a new policy. Order 50 units of photocopier. Reserve 10 seats of ILSB board meeting. All the underlined words are called verb. Let us now go back to the template of minutes with an example content. Business of the day, item number 1, additional fund for C19F. For notes, JP recommended additional hiring of personnel to support the C19F project and add some relevant to the business. For the key decisions, it was decided that the budget for additional personnel was increased for support on CVX19 project. And for action items, contact the CF to confirm allocated amount for C19F project and the owner and the deadline of the action item. Let us now learn some terminologies used in writing minutes. Ad hoc, especially for the purpose of adjourn, to stop a meeting until a later date. Adopt minutes, when minutes are accepted by members. Consensus, general agreement. Convene, to call for a meeting. Motion, a proposal at a meeting. Propose, to suggest an idea. Oppose, to speak against a motion, idea suggested by another member. Quorum, a number of people needed to be in attendance for a meeting. And of course, there are also some things to avoid in writing minutes. The opinion or interpretation of the secretary. Judgmental phrase, for example, the heated debate and the valuable comments. For discussion, minutes are records of what was done at the meeting, not what was said at the meeting. And for motions that were withdrawn, and the name of seconder is unnecessary. And that would be all about minutes of meeting. Hope you learned something from me. Thank you and have a good day. Bye.